Allen County Fairgrounds, Lima, Ohio. Old school racing at its finest on some of the best pea gravel the country has to offer. Multiple lines, knee-deep cushion. Guy's gonna have to be in shape to win tonight. In 2014, Sammy Halbert dominates early. Riding so hard he leaves his XR 750 in smoking ruins. Brian Smith leads the middle part of the race, only to suffer a broken shock and a late fade to third. Brandon Robinson up to second place late in the race, but our defending champion, Jared Mees, takes the win.
Welcome to Lima, Ohio. It is time for the Ohio National. We are here. It's been raining all day yesterday, but today we're racing in Ohio. I'm in the booth. I'm Scotty Dibbler alongside seven-time champ Chris Carr, and we've been joined by a three-time champion. It is the Jammer, Jared Mees. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
We are great. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm looking forward to watching these guys throw some rocks over the fence today.
The good news is the sun is out. There's one cloud in the sky, and it's a little bitty. There's no more rain. So if we can get this race in, it's going to be awesome. Looks like the track's drying out. We're going to be on the track here in the next little bit. Jared, are you ready?
Yeah, I can't wait. You know, I'm honored that Dean Gallup came back and brought us back the second day, you know, especially after last weekend at Hagerstown. We all know this racetrack can take a lot of water, but we got a lot of water. So right now they're letting the track dry and do its thing, let Mother Nature take its part. And, you know, I've never raced a daytime pea gravel Grand National here at Lima, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, how do you think the track's going to shape up? We've had 4 inches of rain this week and 11 inches over the last month. What do you think type of changes do you think you'll see in the racetrack today?
Well, I'm fortunate to race a lot of outlaw racing that we race during the day and a lot of fair races and stuff. So I have a pretty good idea how this track's going to shape up. You know, I think it'll be really primo in practice qualifying, but throughout the day with the small breeze we have and the sunshine, you can't ever do away with that. And I believe the track's going to actually get a little drier, might get a little choppy, rough here and there, and kind of be a skittery, you know, deep in one section, but probably a skittery, you know, Lima Half-Mile. You know, typically maybe how it is a little bit in the main event at night, but a little bit drier, a little bit hard to get a hold of. Might even see a little groove off the exit of the corner even. So it's hard to say. Like I said, I've never seen it, but I've never been here during Lima during the day, but just knowing what I know with past Cushing tracks.
Jared, you got your first win here back in 2005. You actually won here 3 times, including last year. What's your secret to the success here at Lima?
Well, you know, good starts on Cushing tracks really help out a lot, and I feel like I get off the line really well. If you can be the guy spraying the people down, it's a lot better. But just staying smooth and trying to stay on top of the track, changing all the time. You know, a Cushing track like this, it's so good when we first go out there and it's so wide open. But then you got to start searching around because it gets really deep up at the top, kind of holy. The track can kind of get physical demanding. So you just kind of got to expect the unexpected, really, with Cushing tracks, especially Lima.
Well, it's pretty obvious from my years of experience that we're going to see a track that goes through a lot of change. And you're going to have to – are you looking to change his setup in the motorcycle as the day goes on, or is it more on you as a rider to be able to adapt to the conditions as they go through their metamorphosis, so to speak, over the course of the day?
You know, it could be a little bit of both, but majority of the time it's the rider needing to change his lines because where you enter the corner, there could be a hole here now, and you have to go around it or below it. The track, you know, you might be riding at the top of the hay bales, and then all of a sudden it could get really deep to where you can't ride up there anymore. So every time you go out there, you kind of got to watch the track, but when you go out there, you just kind of got to move around and figure out what works. I mean, the motorcycle setup is also a key thing, but for me, it's more myself always on a cushion. A good balanced motorcycle is really all I need for a cushion, and the rest of it seems to fall in my hands.
Well, we had a really rough racetrack here last year. The track, I can't remember ever seeing it any rougher than what we had. Does that, I mean, we know you won, and we know you had some issues. Does that play into your hands, and why does it?
I like the rough track. I think it separates, I guess you could say the men from the boys in some ways. Sometimes it gets too rough and it gets physical demanding, which I feel like it plays into my favor a little bit. Last year, unfortunately, Sammy Halbert broke and, made it a lot easier on us. We still had a lot of laps left, but you never know. And, the track just kind of fell into my hands where you had to be consistent and push to the end, really.
Well, you talk about it separates the men from the boys. Your wife goes very fast here, too. And part of what I've noticed is you two have actually a physical trainer. How physically demanding is this track compared to where we were at last week in Hagerstown? How that was so smooth. It was like a pool table, how smooth it was. And then we come here and this track gets really rough. How physically demanding is this track compared to like Hagerstown?
Well, compared to Hagerstown, it's a lot more physical demanding. Hagerstown's pool table smooth, as you mentioned, more like mentally demanding than anything, kind of like the miles. You have to be very finesse at Hagerstown. You got to be smooth. You got to keep your wheels in line. You have to worry about getting off the corner. Here, you worry about getting through the corner and going forward. Stepping out sideways, losing lots of momentum. So this track is pretty physical demanding, and the more holes and the more rougher and the more deeper it gets, the more physical demanding it gets. So, your first couple laps of practice and qualifying, it's pool table smooth, and you just pin the throttle wide open. It's very easy. And then you start really, getting into the deep ruts and the cushion and trying to turn under people but stay out of the roost. So you never know really what to expect.
Well, listening to it sounds like you have a plan in your mind as to how you see the day going out. Does that day include Jared Mees on the top of the box for the first time in 2015?
Of course it does. I wouldn't be here if it wouldn't.
There you go. That's a typical racer answer. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the jammer, Jared Mees. He's got to go put his leathers on. We're going to take a short break. We're going to check out a recap from what happened at Sacramento. Since we rained out last week in Hagerstown, let's go back another week and see what happened at Sacramento.
The last round of AMA Pro Flat Track hosted at the Sacramento Mile. Fans packed the stands for some of the greatest racing that we've seen all season. In the GNC2 class, we saw an early battle between several riders with one of our top guys, Davis Fisher, going down, leaving the door wide open for Nick Armstrong to take his first win in the points lead.
It was awesome to get the first win. Sacramento Mile 2015 brought home the W.
In the GNC1 class, fans were not disappointed. There were multiple race leaders, and only one person can prevail. Brian Smith took the win over Brandon Robinson in an incredible photo finish. Smith made history, capturing his 5th consecutive Sacramento Mile win.
It means a lot, 5 in a row. It shows you how solid the team is behind me. I definitely wouldn't be here without them. 4 of the wins have came on these great Kawasaki's, so hats off to everybody that's part of the Howard Team as far as the Crosby Radio Kawasaki team.
Man, I can't believe it. Second race on the Triumph, and we led quite a bit of laps, and I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I was like, what the heck am I even doing up here? This is kind of unfamiliar territory for this bike, but man, my mechanic, Bernard Brewster, the whole latest Motors Castro Triumph team worked their butt off and gave me a great motorcycle tonight.
Those are some great highlights from Sacramento. It was our last race on the Grand National Circuit. The hottest rider on the circuit actually took the win, but the rider that's joined us here in the booth, it is Brandon Robinson, currently 3rd in the point standings, finished 2nd at Sacramento. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys.
You ready for some Lima pea gravel?
Yeah, I think so. It's a track I typically struggle at. Cushions have never really been my forte, but last year, just getting second's a big confidence booster coming into this year, and I've been looking forward to it all season.
Well, with a new motorcycle in the latest Motorsports Triumph, how different do you think that bike's going to go around this racetrack compared to the Kawasaki, which you've won a few races on?
Yeah, definitely going to be a little different. It's a heavier motorcycle, which I think is going to be an advantage, definitely to plow through the ruts and stuff like that. And it's more like a Harley as far as the power curve is considered, so it has a lot of torque in it. So I think it's going to be almost easier in a sense, but at the same time, we don't have tons of seat time on the motorcycle yet, so it's going to be a kind of a gamble, and we're going to be shooting in the dark a little bit. But again, like I said, I'm just kind of comfortable coming in here this year, and I feel like I have a great team around me, and hopefully everything goes to plan.
Brandon, do you have any chance to practice for any kind of tracks like this? This is the only pea gravel track on the circuit. Do you go ride somewhere else, do some training, or do some practicing for a pea gravel track like Lima?
Yeah, the last couple of years we've done a lot of the Steve Nace All-Star races and going to the fair races like Jared would and stuff. But this year we just haven't had enough time, and we were down to one bike at Hagerstown, so we were kind of struggling to go testing and that kind of stuff. But typically we do, but this year we just haven't had the time. So that's kind of a bummer, but at the same time, I kind of know what to do here this year, and I feel like we're gonna be good.
So you think you're okay, but you sound not so confident in that. Is it because you're not on the bike a lot, or is it because we're out at a racetrack right now that, other than last year, you haven't had great results?
Partially both, and at the same time, it's just every race weekend for me on the Triumph, it's a whole new learning game. It's something that I'm on a totally different motorcycle. Every race we're going into it in basically having to learn fast. And if we don't learn fast, we're going to be struggling just a little bit. So like the miles this year, we've been pretty much on par right off the bat. And, Hagerstown, we were struggling just a little bit. We weren't too far off. So it's just one of those things, just not have enough seat time on it yet. So, but I feel like the motorcycle's going to be pretty good here, and hopefully looking forward to a good day.
Well, so you're sitting third in the points, and I think you finished in the top 5 a few times in your career. Have you kind of exceeded your expectations up until this point in 2015?
Yeah, to a point. I always I expect myself to be up front, but at the same time, going into with a new team and a new bike and all that, it was just kind of I felt like I was in a development kind of year, and to be up front this far in the season is kind of a shocker for myself. So it's it kind of sets new expectations for myself, and I want to be up front every race, and that's why we come here. But it's definitely a little bit of a shocker for sure.
What was it like to lead Sacramento on the Triumph and finishing, second place? It's been such a long time since a Triumph has been, I think 30, 35 years since a Triumph had finished that far up in a Grand National. What was it like to lead? First of all, what was it like to finish second at Sacramento?
It was great. Just huge. It's huge for my confidence, especially on the Triumph. Not having tons of seat time on it. And then at the same time, we were struggling really bad all day. We had a lot of ignition problems in qualifying. We were on 27th or something like that, so we were third row in a heat race. And, we just working that hard to get to the front that day it was rewarding. And then to be able to lead, a majority of the laps and leading and coming off turn 4 and just seeing that little green blur come by me at the end was just that was a little disappointing. But at the same time, rewarding knowing, it's been 30 years since Triumph's had a podium, and to be the guy that did it was awesome.
Well, you've had about 4 weeks to kind of think about what happened at Sacramento. Would you do anything different on your final lap than what you did, other than try to go as fast as you can? Have you thought of any different tactics from the front that might have given you a better shot to win?
Just watching the video, the only thing I can think of is just trying to push it a little harder to get through the turns faster. I really didn't want to lead it going into 3. I kind of figured Brian would kind of want to take the lead, and I didn't realize I had that big of a gap going down the backside. So that kind of threw my game plan off a little bit going into turn 3. And once I was leading, I'm like, I just got to hammer down, and it just kind of threw me a little bit out of rhythm. But it's just one of the things you have to deal with the cards that are given to you, and it was unfortunate that we didn't win it, but at the same time, it was a great finish.
Well, we saw a lot of the bikes at Sacramento went through a lot of tire wear. How was the tire on the Triumph?
Pretty much the same as everyone's, ball for the most part, but we didn't have any cords showing. So, and honestly, that was probably the best handling motorcycle I've ever had at Sacramento. So that was a cool part. It's a big part of working with Brent Armbruster, my mechanic. He's just he's a man, really. So it's been a good year working with him, and I've had a lot of fun.
That is Brandon Robinson, number 44. Keep your eyes on this guy. He's third in the point standings right now. But we also have another class running, Brandon in GNC1. Check out this GNC2 rider who's really hot right now.
My name is Davis Fisher from Warren, Oregon. I'm 17 years old. I grew up racing flat track. I've been racing since I was 2.5, and I just love the sport. My dad grew up racing flat track too, and I just followed his route. I race in the GNC2 class. This is my second year. Last year came up a point short, and looking to improve this year. next year I'll be moving up to the GNC 1 class, and we got a lot to learn, but I think I got a good chance at putting it in the main or getting top 10 at a national. My favorite part about racing, basically the flat track community is very family-like, and it's awesome. I just like going fast and turning left.
Welcome back to Lima, the pre-show. That was our good feature on one of our GNC2 riders. That was Davis Fisher. But the man that's in charge of the point standings right now, it is Nick Armstrong, number 44E. Nick, how are you doing today?
Good. Just ready to do some racing.
You've been to Lima once before last year. What's your goals coming into today as the points leader?
Just kind of ride consistent, get a good setup on the bike. I'm hoping for top 5.
Top 5.
Well, is this your first full year, or was last year your first full year on the GNC2 circuit?
Last year was my first full year.
So, coming from Southern California, you come to a place like the Allen County Fairgrounds in Lima. Does the racetrack kind of look like what the surface of the moon would to you? Because I know there isn't any pea gravel in Southern California to speak of.
Yeah, we don't have any pea gravel. So coming here, last year was my first time riding pea gravel, so that was a big learning experience for sure. But since then, I've been able to ride a few pea gravel tracks and work on some setup.
Well, what do you think? I mean, does it fit your style of riding, or is something that you still have to continue to work on?
No, I think it's something I kind of have to continue to work on a little bit. You know, it's kind of more of a wide open, just grab a handful of throttle and let it rip. So, you know, technique kind of goes out the window, and you just go for it.
Nick, a lot of the fans don't really know much about Nick Armstrong. You kind of came out of the scene out of nowhere, and I've talked to you before. You don't have very much flat track racing background. You've only been racing a few seasons, and now you're leading the points in the GNC2 class. How does that feel?
Oh, it feels good. Yeah. You know, I think I've been racing. Well, on the 450, this will be my 4th season. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then, you know, over the off season, I put in a lot of work and worked on my riding, and we're doing good.
In other words, where did you come from? I mean, you have 4 years of experience. What were you doing prior to that?
Before that, I rode motocross for fun. You know, down in Southern California, you can ride motocross every day of the week.
Did you race locally, or was it just something you just like to do?
Yeah, more something that I like to do. My family, we've always gone out to the desert and rode, you know, quads or whatever, dirt bikes and stuff like that. So that's kind of it.
So you came out of nowhere, and that's why we're asking these questions.
Yeah.
We don't know a whole lot about Nick Armstrong. What do you think? You've got 4 years of experience under your belt now. Is this something you want to do for a while? Do you want to see how far you can go, or is this something you're just kind of passing time? What's Nick's long-term plan?
No, I mean, with the way I've been progressing, I want to keep doing it for sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You rode the Twin for the first time at I believe at Springfield. Is that then that was a TL 1000?
Yep.
You got a terrible start, worked your way through the pack, and got up there. You're running really strong. By the time, it took him a little while to figure out the start, but then he got going, and you're getting faster and faster every week. That's got to be building your confidence.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I feel comfortable on the miles for sure. Like, I don't know what it is. Ever since I rode my first one, it's been like I've got them figured out.
Well, I gotta say, as somebody who raced a long time, started at the age of 6, I'm very jealous of you right now because here you are at the top of your game, at the level that you've reached at this point in such a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work a lot harder to get to that level. You see yourself 10 years from now? What is it that you want to accomplish as a flat tracker?
I mean, for sure, I want to win. I want to win races. I want to be an expert. Want to be at that top level, and you know, take steps. You know, hopefully, maybe next year, I think I'm going to move up to the expert class, and then work on getting that national number, and just one step at a time, and keep moving up.
Well, Nick, this is a very technical track. Jared Mees just said it's more mental than it is physical. I always thought it was a very physical track, but what's it going to take to get a victory here today?
Good starts. I think good to qualify well, be on the front row for the heat race, hopefully be on the front row for the main event, get a good start, run up front early, and I think that helps out a bunch.
Well, that is Nick Armstrong, number 44E. Keep your eyes on this rider. He's only been racing for 5 years now, ladies and gentlemen. He's our points leader in the GNC2 class. We just briefly touched on the racetrack. Chris was out there and checked out the racetrack a few moments ago. Let's go see what he found out there.
Welcome to Allen County Fairgrounds here in Lima, Ohio, the home of the world-famous pea gravel. It gets its name from the size of little tiny rocks that they put on these trotter racetracks here in the state of Ohio. Well, right now, after 2 days of rain, we have a really, really soft racetrack. But our best friend today is that little orange ball up in the sky. It's going to do its best to dry this surface out, but once we get riding here, these guys are going to have the most fun they've had all year long. To win today, you're going to have to be tough because every now and then, those rocks are a little bit bigger than they say.
Well, Chris, you got to check out the racetrack, and I can't wait to get out there. We're almost time. The riders are suiting up. It's just about time for practice. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go, and I'm glad I'm sitting in here today. These guys are going to have their hands full around this racetrack.
They're going to earn their money here at Lima, that's for sure.
Yes, they will. And we got to say a big thank you to Dean Gallup, our promoter here at the Lima Half-Mile, for doing everything he can to give these guys an opportunity to go make a paycheck today.
Absolutely. So stay tuned. We're just moments away from our opening ceremonies, followed by heat race number 1 right here at Lima.
Jared Mees, Grand National number 1.
Brian Smith, National number 42.
Hey, I'm Sammy Halbert, number 7. Watch me live on fanschoice.tv. I'm Kenny Coolback. Watch me live on fanschoice.tv.
Hey, I'm Brandon Robinson, national number 44, and watch me live on fanschoice.tv.
I'm Shayna Texter, number 52, and you're watching me live on Fan Choice TV.
I'm Henry Wiles, number 17. Watch me live on fanschoice.tv.
I'm Rob Pearson, number 27, KTM GE Waters Auto Body.
I'm Jeffrey Carver, national number 23. Watch me on fanschoice.tv.
I'm Johnny Lewis. Watch me live on fanschoice.tv.